Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. We are back for another exciting week. This week we have Ethan Bush in the chair of 33 Strategies. He helps nonprofits and organizations figure out their vision, their goal, and really build a sustainable growth plan to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining, and ultimately do the best that they can for their mission, their goals, and their objectives. So super exciting conversation with Ethan. Want to dive right into that. But before we do, I want to give a big, wonderful shout out and thanks to the amazing folks that bring you this show each and every week. Falaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Horizon Financial Group, and Gage. Without further ado, enjoy the show. Surprising to me that in the field you're in and how it's so relationship driven.
It
right?
is.
It's so relationship driven. And ultimately, a lot of deals allegedly happen on the golf course, right? That You're not a golfer.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
So how do you go about doing that? I mean, what is your history with it? How we get involved here? You know?
Are we going?
We've been going, man.
Oh, look at that. No, it's good. It's it's my whole company, or my whole background has been relationship management. I mean, it's literally kind of how I cut my teeth professionally. I didn't know that I wanted to be one in any sort of nonprofit space, right? Two, in sort of managerial leadership in nonprofit. And then the other part is I didn't know that you could be a fundraiser, right? Like that is truly where I sort of cut my teeth that kind of led me to where I am today. And I'll be happy to dig into whatever you want me to dig into that.
So let's go to the teeth cutting phase.
Yeah. So, I guess to step back, I grew up small town, like we talked about, the booming metropolis of Sulphur, Louisiana. I'm a proud graduate of McNeese State University. Spent my whole life kind of in Southwest Louisiana. Didn't know really what I wanted to do. College really just kind of breezed through it, and had a basic business degree. But I knew I wanted to get out. So long story short, I took my first job. I mean, literally, I graduated in May and I left in July, and I moved to a little town called Lexington, Virginia. Okay. And I went to work for my national fraternity.
So what drove you to Lexington? Like
that's where their headquarters.
Okay.
So I wanted to go somewhere different. I wanted to see places I had never been exposed to or had the opportunity to see. And I was like, give me a year to decide what I want to do. I was like, I'll go back to grad school. That's what we all do when we don't know what we want to do, or we just, And so I traveled the country, and it was working with chapters who were in trouble or needed help. And that's all to say, I started to see all these different places around the country that I'd never been to. So like today, somebody will ask me, they're like, man, I need a good recommendation. Like, you ever been to Indianapolis? I'm like, yeah, I can tell you where to go in Indianapolis. Right. It's I got to see all this, and I had a base salary of $8,000 plus free room and board and per diem. So my first job professionally, I made $24,000. It is one of the most fun years that I've ever had. I never worried about money, and I saw everything, right, that I had never been exposed to. And I started to take some blinders down. The horizon changed. I actually lived in a place that had 4 distinct seasons, had no clue of fall.
What's that like?
Yeah, no clue. To here it's summer and not summer, right? And there it's truly...
Summer and cold summer is what we call it.
There you go. There I was like, oh, this is what a spring and a fall feels like. Okay, I got it. Well, I was preparing to come back to Louisiana, and they asked me at the organization, they were like, have you ever fundraised? You're good at sort of the dealing with people. And I learned all that. I need to step back. I hope this doesn't mess you up.
Go.
I was raised, my family owned full service gas stations and towing and recovery businesses. That's where I cut, I would say, the entrepreneurial spirit that went away for a long time that has come back in my business today. My first job was in middle school, where I worked the full service island. I pumped gas. I put air in people's tires. We always dealt with issues of crisis. I moved all the way through high school with that job. I did other jobs too because I just wanted money, right? I wanted running money.
Yeah.
but you're dealing with people who all have an issue, or you're dealing with the public, and it was a service provider business that I got to cut my teeth in young. So you're dealing with the CEO of a big industry, you're dealing with the elderly lady who just needs help, and you're dealing with a mad customer for whatever reason. When you're in the tow and recovery business, you usually don't go tow cars for a good reason, right?
If you show up, they're never happy.
They're not happy,
right?
And so you learn how to deal with people in all walks of life where they are. And I think it just sort of got built, right? And then it was easy for me in high school to do that, and it was easy in college for me to do that. And I just thought, okay, I got the gift of gab, right?
Right.
Well, they saw that I could interact with alumni and school officials and administrators, and they were like, you ever thought about working with donors and fundraising? I'm like, you can do that?
What is that?
What is that? I was like, do I have to go back to school for that? And they were like, no. Now you can go back to school and get degrees in fundraising, and it's a whole world that's
Is it really?
in certifications, and it has become the respected profession, in my opinion, that it should have been. But 2001, 2002, right? It's just like, well, can you deal with people or not? So they were like, we'd like you to work for our foundation. You're no longer going to see chapters. You're going to go to cities, and you're going to meet alumni and get them to support scholarships and training. And sure, I can do that. I don't know what I'm going to go home and do. Well, that went another 6 years, and I ended up helping transform the National Foundation. I led them through one of their largest national fundraising campaigns, learned things about how dollars are raised and stewarded, very similar to what goes on in higher ed, right? If you're at the LSU Foundation, Southern, any of them.
Yeah.
I moved back to Louisiana, interestingly enough, in 2005, between the two hurricanes, between Katrina and Rita. And it's very significant for me because couldn't decide if I really wanted to come home, but I had an apartment reserved. Katrina hits. I'm like, well, I'm supposed to move in a couple of weeks. Do I take it? Do I give it up? I said, no, I'm going. And then Rita hits my hometown after that. Oh. Right. And so it was a really good moment for me to be back, because I had that apartment when people needed to come over and get a little bit of relief. I just kind of handed the keys to people, and I stayed gone working. Right. So flash forward, with a joint person that I had a relationship with that supported me in the National Foundation. He and I are just catching up one day, and he goes, have you ever thought about working in the healthcare space? I'm like, no, not at all. He goes, do you know who Mary Burr Perkins is? And I'm like, no, who is she? And he's like, well, it's a cancer center. Not from here, didn't go to school here.
Who is she?
Who is she? This is where I was on that, right?
Yeah.
My job was national.
Right.
There was no, and again, I didn't go to high school here. I didn't go to LSU, right? I'd moved here, but it was really, I'm one of those that chose to come here, right? And people look at me sometimes like I'm like, you chose to move here? I'm like, yeah, I chose to move here.
So why did you choose to move here?
Well, I knew I was coming back to Louisiana, and I don't know why.
Okay.
My sister and brother-in-law lived here. I knew I wasn't going back to Southwest Louisiana, and I needed access to a couple of airports. I'm like, I can get in Baton Rouge. I'm an hour from New Orleans. I loved coming over here on fall football game weekends, right? It'll just get me back. Eventually, I thought I'd end up in East Texas, where most of people that I grew up with and graduated with professionally kind of go to Houston, or, I was like, I'll get over there at some point, but my grandfather was sick. Things were changing in my family business. I wasn't in it.
Yeah.
But felt like there was a draw to come back. So that was it. And then, of course, my life changed completely, and I was embraced by this community. I went over and became the senior gifts officer at Mary Burr Perkins Cancer Center, ended up becoming their vice president of development, got into a lot of work on the leadership side about partnerships with hospitals. And my day job was fundraising and to manage that team. But we also were going through partnerships and mergers. And, this is all around that 2008 to 12. You have the Affordable Care Act. You have changes in healthcare.
Yep.
And I got to do it in the oncology space. And cancer had touched my family like most of ours in the state. It was super personal and passion driven for me, so it really didn't feel like a hard job. I didn't expect to be thrown into running that department so quickly, but you know how things change, right? My predecessor left sort of unexpected. And in my early 30s, I was thrown into a job I probably shouldn't have had, meaning there was a lot of learning, but I figured it out. We always had a mantra of failing forward. We still have that in our business today. We learn from it. We collect the data on that. We try not to do it again.
Of course.
And so that led to really, really high-end resourced, major transformational fundraising. And by the time that I left Mary Bird, we had a staff of almost 20. We were generating over $10+ million a year across multiple states. It really let me sort of refine the work, not only as a leader, but also as a fundraiser. And it was a great run. But fundraising can be a burnout profession. It's work, right?
It's work, and it's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking, not if you believe in what you are raising money for. That energy stays, right? But it is a pressure-filled job to generate the funds, right? Because while Mary Bird generated money and Our Lady of the Lake and Woman's, all of our partners, they generate revenue from the treatment of patients. My team was responsible for offsetting those things that patients and family needed where there was not revenue.
Right.
And that number kept growing as patient loads kept growing. And I just realized that I had become a bad day-to-day leader of people. I was burnout, right? I had become, they would flatter me and say, you weren't a bad leader. We still hit our goals. It was hard for me to come in every day and manage people that I loved, that were super talented. And I just saw it, right? And I was like, I've been here 12 years. We had done everything that we needed. It was time for somebody else to take that and take that forward. So about 6 months before that, it was like, great, we're on the same page. I'm going to exit gracefully. We did these awesome things, and that all happened. And I'm still involved with that organization. I love them to death. When I leave, about a month and a half later, this thing called COVID hit.
Perfect time
my
to be
business,
in the job market.
My business, which is called 33 Strategies, was started in April of 2020. Really great timing, huh?
Yeah.
Actually was a blessing. I was home. They were very good to me. My wife, who is a superstar to help in our household and keeps things moving. I didn't have to worry about health insurance. I wasn't worried about some of the other things that let me truly focus on what is it that I want to go do. Because I still wanted to help organizations and help them not only fundraise, but figure out what they needed to do to take the next step.
Right.
But I wanted to work with different groups, and I didn't really want to manage people. And so I was like, well, let me just see where I can plug in on that, right? So it gave me time to discern on that, and really kind of in that summer of 2020, launched out with my first client. And, we just passed 4 years of the work that we're doing. I've brought on an incredible partner and some other resources that we have, and I'm sure we'll get into that, whatever questions you have on that. But that entrepreneurial spirit came back. Mm-hmm. So to connect all the dots, I went and learned something professionally, traveled the country, but sitting on that full service island, watching my grandfather truly be a man in the community. He was hard on me. He was a mentor. He was an idol, but he was tough. But I also saw that he never told somebody no. Somebody would show up and say they're on a hard time. He'd have a wad of money like that, right? And what do you need to get through today? What do you need to just help? By the time he was passing away, probably hardly had any of that money left, right? The business was falling apart. My father left the industry that he was in to come salvage that. I got to see the ups and downs of running your own business. I think that fully prepared me with sort of eyes wide open going into what this is going to take. But that servant sort of attitude, right? And what I saw him do. And then my father wouldn't give the money away that my grandfather did, but my father would do the work in kind. old buddy from high school. Man, my car is broken down. I'll fix it. Right. But I saw them both just help community. I'm like, well, how do I do that? My father retired years ago, and he asked me, do you want to come take this over? I said, not no, but you know what? No. I loved it, but that wasn't for me. I was like, sell it and retire. We're good. But how do I capture some of that, right? And so my way to do that with my professional experience was to go and say, I learned a lot and failed a lot, leading nonprofits, especially around fundraising, but also organizationally, I think there's things I can bring to the table. So 33 Strategies was born out of that sort of mindset, and trying to capture a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit was something I knew how to do. Originally it was, I'll just help them fundraise, but I've learned over the last 4 years that it's so much bigger than fundraising.
Welcome to the brand new Philia mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Philia mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Philia in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Philia, it's real estate reimagined.
So we recognize that nonprofits don't have a product, right? They have a mission,
maybe a service,
maybe a service, but but they operate in a way that reflects that. Meaning, a lot of nonprofits who I love them and they do good work, but a lot operate out of a place of scarcity, right? It is truly a charitable mindset on how they run their business.
Yeah, this is our runway based on current donations. This is how long we can go for.
And thank God we got enough money into the December annual fund to keep the light bill on for January, right? Granular example.
Right.
And I know you work with nonprofits, you understand sort of this world. So I was like, I want to help them. And sometimes that's fundraising, but it's much bigger than that. I want to help them be better businesses that allow them to build, extend, and scale their product, which is their mission, right? To serve and to serve more people. So sometimes that leads to, we'll build a fundraising strategy, but a lot of times it's like, we're going to step back and help put resources around you, get this organization operating like a fully functioning, well-heeled business. Mm-hmm. And they all go, well, we're a nonprofit. I'm like, no, you're a business. There's some tax differences, and I'm not going to get into that, but there is no reason that you can't be a sustainable organization and let donors have the pleasure of extending your mission and not paying your light bill. These are my words and my opinions.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I think you're on, I love the track that your mind goes down when working with these nonprofits, because oftentimes it is, for lack of a better term, too mission focused and not how do we sustain this? It's, I want to help this particular section of people, population, whatever it may be. And that's all I want to focus on is helping these people. And it's not, well, we need a procedure to make sure that it goes beyond me, right? They form their group, they form their entity, and they say, great, we got a team of 5 people. We're going to go take on the world. But it's often not spent enough time on the front end of, here's what we want to do. Here's how we can initially get some funding. But let's actually sit down, develop whether it be a business plan or a business model, something that we can then look at a bigger picture and say, where are the processes and procedures so we can deliver the best service. We can be the best, servant heart that we can be for these people and communities we're touching, rather than just trying to figure out, man, where are we going to get the light bill from?
Yeah, it's a great way to say it. I think you're, mindset wise, I think you're similar. I can recognize that in you by what you're saying. And I think what we've learned is and this is not to discredit any nonprofit in this community. And we serve nonprofits in the North Shore. We serve in the Acadiana region. Majority of our work is here. We are not tied to a specific mission, meaning I only work with healthcare nonprofits. No.
Right.
I get in trouble for saying this. I don't care what their mission is. I do because it's important. What I should say is I am not tied to
You're
a
not
specific.
industry specific.
No,
Yeah.
there's no need to be.
Yeah.
The principles that we're trying to bring in are trying to help these organizations get off a plateau or get out of crisis, but not get back into it. Matter of fact, some of the best clients that we have are some that have already done some strategic planning, actually paid good money to get a plan, and we'll walk in and they'll go, we had this done 2 years ago, but we don't even know where to start. I'm like, perfect. Now there's at least some alignment and we'll figure out the rest of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we take that entrepreneurial lens and we put it on top of them. So when they ask me about fundraising, if you just want me to come in and teach you fundraising, I'm going to send you to one of our friends that want to focus on that because you need it. Where we're trying to go is, let's talk about revenue. And they go, well, what do you mean? That is fundraising. That's contributed revenue. Let's talk about earned revenue. Well, we can't make a profit. Yeah, you can. That's how we use it, right? So, well, we don't have a product. You don't have a product today. We don't have you have a facility that people would rent. There's possible revenue lines, and what we talk about is sort of a balanced revenue strategy. We're going to take care of our house, overhead, put it all in a bucket. Not all of them can do that to that level, but we're going to do it to the best of our ability so that when a donor recognizes we are sustainable, they'll go even deeper with you. Mm-hmm. Right? And so that's how we've evolved in sort of the mindset of what we do. Is most of our clients are nonprofit organizations. We'll work on the business side a little bit too. I mean, there's businesses that truly are overwhelmed and flustered about how to give money away. It happens, right? Close friend of mine called me a couple years ago and he said, Ethan, we gave away $75,000 this year and I'm frustrated. Like, I don't feel connected to it. I don't know where it went. They're superstar business people.
Yeah.
My employees aren't involved in it, right? It's all back to the culture and organizations and businesses, but really it is helping them define where their priorities fit with their mission and how do we engage and build a program that everybody feels more connected inside their culture on how they want to do it as a company. What you do as an individual, we'll work with individuals too. You'd be surprised at how many individuals also don't know how to do it appropriately. And I don't mean having your tax advisors and your attorneys.
Right.
I mean, how do we get our family on the same page about what we want to do related to legacy?
Okay. So you do like individual
We will.
work with folks, whether they're
We'll sit at the table with the advisors, but we don't like to. Okay. That's not our job.
Yeah.
Our job is to go, what do you want to do? What is the impact that you want to make?
Oh,
They're going to put the vehicles together. Now, we've helped individuals start foundations and nonprofits, and we can do that. But there's also individuals that already have all that established, whether it's family office or their own foundation or even a donor advised fund at BRAF or other places, but they're trying to figure out what they want to do and how they want to go deeper based on the things they're interested in and how they want to engage the generations in their family. We'll step into that space and help a little bit. Over the last 4 years, we've served over 40 nonprofits across South Louisiana. We're continuing to evolve in how we serve them. Really, we like to go deep with our clients over a longer period of time. Back to that point about the strategic plan, they don't know what to do day one. And there's nothing wrong with having a vision and a guide. Everybody needs that. And we'll do some of that planning too. I'd rather come in and show them how to implement it and put it into action if they have it, and then talk about how do we take this business mindset and think about everything we're doing. Fundraising will be there. Relationship management is key to everything. Back to your first point, that's been my job for almost 25 years, right? Different forms of it. But that is what's been beautiful, is to start kind of figuring that out and serving in a way that helps those organizations kind of grow and have those principles stay long term.
Yeah.
And if they're not right for us, I'll give it away. Meaning, They just need to get out of triage. We'll help them get out of triage. I'm not interested in them being a client if they're not ready, but I am interested in helping them. I don't want to see them go away. I will challenge them to, are you going to continue to do this by yourself? Right? Where's your board coming to this? Are you looking at partnerships? Are you looking at collaboration? So we'll bring all those things in. We work with a group of individuals that we collaborate with that are subject matter experts in different spaces that are also advisors like us. I don't claim to be the guy to go fix your long-term budget planning. I can tell you how fundraising fits in it and how we want to code it and how we want to steward those dollars.
Right.
But we have people that we work with that come into that. And if they need to be a part of the project, man, there'll be 2 or 3 people that are subject matter experts working on it with us. We're all about that. And then the client, they benefit from us sort of putting a multidisciplinary approach around them to kind of get all that squared away.
Yeah, they're building these nonprofits with the intent to help and serve people, but it's not thought of as a business.
Well, think about how they start. They start with people that have been affected by something or want to do good work. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not talking about higher ed, healthcare. Look, I was blessed to work in the higher ed space and the healthcare space. I had more resources than I knew what to do with at Mary Bird. That was a good thing. Now, the numbers that we had to raise to utilize those resources, but I had an organization that generated revenue from patient treatment. We weren't worried about donors taking care of our light bill. We were worried about where donors fit into where we couldn't step in, but they could step in and support those families.
And for the donor, it makes a bigger impact.
It does,
right? If you're telling me I'm going to donate, $100, and 10 of my dollars or 20 of my dollars are going to keep your light bills and stuff on, I'm only making an 80% impact for what the donor sees, right?
So that's what I was going to say. That on bigger organizations, you certainly want to be able to figure that out on your own. I think a lot of donors understand that overhead and staff have to be there to extend a mission, and they will support you to a certain point, right? And then they get fatigued on that.
Well, because they're business minded.
They are, and they also recognize that just as their companies have had to evolve, why is it that the organizations I believe in are not having to evolve, right? And again, no disrespect to any of those organizations. Majority of the organizations I work with don't have the level of resources that I had, but the concepts are still the same, right? Maybe my donations were coming in at, 6-figure and above gifts on some things. It's just zeros, but the concepts are the same in my opinion. But a lot of those groups outside of that started again. It could have been a grandparent. It could have been a group of family members. It could have been a family that was blessed with assets that wanted to put them somewhere to go do a mission.
Right.
Then what do we do? Right? How do we make that work? How do we grow that appropriately?
This episode is proudly presented by Gage. Gage is a local company here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For over 40 years, Gage has provided businesses with the very best telecommunications, IT, and standby power services available. Gage has a variety of services, including Gage Cloud Voice. It is the last phone system your business will ever need. You need to give your business the ability to be accessible anytime, anywhere, and with Gage's cloud-based phone system, you'll be able to accomplish just that. Not only do they have Gage Cloud Voice, they have fully managed IT services that are proactive network monitoring, 24/7, 365, help desk, business continuity. They are there for you. What you're also going to need is some cybersecurity. Gage is there to safeguard your business from potential cyber threats, even when you aren't aware they exist. Gage also is power and leaders in standby generators. They are the #1 Cummins dealer on the Gulf Coast and provide generators to homes and businesses of any size so you can keep life going. Gage, better connected, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show.
So we like to work in the world of philanthropy and in the nonprofit space, seeing the corporate side, seeing the nonprofit side, seeing the individual side, and how do we integrate those worlds? Right now we've had the pleasure to work on a big project that is a collaboration between government, nonprofit, business, and industry, and it's all related to community safety and some things going on in the region. And what we recognized is that it takes a big integration role, right? To have all those legs on the stool together.
Yeah.
We see ourselves kind of moving into some of those bigger level integration roles as well as doing individual organizational support because we're doing it and we're seeing, but to keep them all together is important. And one of the big pieces of this role is that we want a group of nonprofits who fill the gaps to be talking to each other, right? If you have 8 nonprofits that are doing work in reducing violence and community safety, or pick a topic, pick one, they are not always the most efficient at working together, right? So how do we put together an alliance, right? And a lot of people talk about this as like venture philanthropy and impact investing, and that's where the money comes in. But having the nonprofits come up to where community expects, right? And going, we can actually solve all pieces of this puzzle if we're coordinated. And does that make sense?
It does.
And we are trying to be some of that engine to help that happen.
Because that has been something that I've noticed after doing this for however long we've done it and having some nonprofits on and talking with them. And I always kind of ask them the same thing. I'm like, what are some folks in your space doing similar but different items? And when I have folks of your nature on and your business and industry where you're helping all of them, I always ask the question is like, everybody I feel like wants to go and start off their own nonprofit. They always want to start and create their own thing. But to your point, in my mind, if I'm going to do something and we're trying to, sticking on the theme of reducing violence, right? I'm going to see who's out there. And I'm going to say, how can we all come together and work towards that goal that we're trying to accomplish as one unit, but maybe we're separate, right? Because we may think of things in a different light, but why do we have to go and try and do something someone else is already doing in this nonprofit space? If you're in business and I'm trying to make a better microphone, that's competition. Nonprofits shouldn't be competing. They should be working together to accomplish the same thing. And at the end of the day, if you're looking for a recognition or you're wanting to say your organization was in it, then we just make the poster bigger.
That's right.
Well,
it's back to fear, right? There's a scarcity mindset, right? I'm protecting what we've built. You also have to remember that a lot of these organizations are started by somebody who is super passionate, and they are the face of that. There is a time and a place where that founder is not in that role. So we have to get them beyond that as an organization, but also the protection piece is like, well, no, we started to do this, but you're not evolving to what we're facing, right? And if we all sat down and were honest with each other, this group of nonprofits, we go, well, this is where we're a little different, but we can fill that part and you can fill this. And, maybe if we go to some funders with an impact investment, they'll go deeper and over a longer period of time, and they'll let us fail a little bit along the way. So a lot of grant funding and a lot of funding is based on reporting and outcomes, and it could be 1 year or 2 years sometimes. But imagine if we went to a funder and said, 8 of us are together, we have a plan, we are reducing duplication, we are extending, we're filling all the pieces of the pie, we are working with government, we are working with private industry, if it's a law enforcement or whoever, right? Call it public, private. We are filling the gaps that they are not responsible for, but we're doing it coordinated. But we want you to come to the table and help us determine outcomes that you agree with. Think about that. Not many donors you're kind of, grantors will say, okay, we want to report, or you're going to accomplish this. We don't ask a lot of our funders to help come up with that and advise us. And imagine, and not that they want to be in the running of the day-to-day, but imagine if they went deeper and they also could agree and align on metrics that was that this is actually going to be the outcomes we think are successful, and we're going to give you time to do it, and we're going to advise if you need us, right? Because our return is actual impact. It's not capital. That's where I see we can make some changes, and that's where we want to be an integrator and a player in that. That's a dream of mine, and we're getting to cut our teeth and help in a real way to learn from that. We're never going to not support a nonprofit that needs help. It may look different, right? We're never going to walk into a nonprofit and say, all you got to do is raise more money. That doesn't work.
No.
It has not worked. Donors are tired. This is a giving community. They're tired.
It is, yes. It is up until a point in which they stop seeing a return.
For sure.
And just like any business decision, they're going to ask for their IRR it may look different.
Sure.
What's my rate of return for my donation? If you're going to accomplish something and you've got these metrics and these plans and these programs you're going to put out there, great. Just, I want some updates to know if it's making an impact. Because if I can see a impact over time and I can see actual change, no matter how big or small, just something, then they feel like they've actually gotten a return on their intent to make a change.
Well, and that's that whole sort of venture philanthropy world that's coming. It's happening in other places. It is the sort of face where you can, when you go invest in something, you expect a return. Mm-hmm. The return is actual impact. So we're going to go at it from a systemic place, which means that all those entities have to be in coordination. Do you realize how tough it would be and is? And that's not just because of our community. That's anywhere. Somebody's got to be thinking about all those pieces. And we have found that because of our mindset and the way that we approach it, and, Alex Bio is my partner, and he's just an incredible thinker and organizational strategist. And, as we look at this, we're going, okay, we understand this model. We understand how it can work. And we understand how it can fall apart. And so if we can be that glue and somebody that sort of starts to see it this way in the collaborative instead of just in our narrow focused sort of what we're responsible for, then some of these things can stay together. It's still going to be hard.
Well, yeah.
But I do think if we approach donors in our community in a different way and we ask them to be engaged in the outcomes, they would be intrigued. I will tell you who will not, and that is the nonprofits. I spoke to a group here a year or so ago, and I said, some of you have been around a quarter of a century, 40 years, whatever. Do you think you've made a difference? And they're like, yeah. I said, I agree. Y'all have made a difference. You have helped people. Have you fixed the issues? And they go, I don't know. It's like we all looked in the mirror, we would say, and is it all your responsibility? No. Nobody should discredit the good things that you are doing. Mm-hmm. But have we solved that problem? And why do we think we can solve it alone? Some of them didn't like it. And I said, what if I told you that I think the donors should start setting the goals and metrics for you and with you? Well, they don't understand what we do. That's a problem. They don't, and it's not all, and it's all, it's a weird feeling. Not that a donor is going to come in and change the organization or what they do, but man, on specific projects, for me to invest further, I think I would need to be engaged on that and have an aligned set of outcomes that I would love to go do that. Not all do, but a lot. We're getting there. Mm-hmm. But you can't do it as one organization alone. No. I've never seen it. We'll make some small dents along the way. We'll help some people. We should never stop doing that. Right. Because nonprofits have a huge role in gap filling, right? People fall through the cracks. Communities fall through the cracks, and they have done the work. We can do it more efficiently and at a better scale, right? And not have things drop through. We just got to be like this instead of we're hoarding everything that we've always done this certain way. Mm-hmm. And so part of what we do is that, in addition to trying to make them sound businesses. And if they need to merge or partner, we're going to push that concept. And we're going to work with their board to get them there. Because sometimes that makes your mission go further. Well, you never lose your original vision and mission and identity, but you might become something different to survive and grow and evolve. Yeah, we just want to be a player in that.
You may add a different service or something you hadn't thought about, to your point of filling the gaps.
Sure.
Right? So, no, I think having them be open is going to be the hardest part of the conversation because, to your point, it's have you made an impact? Yes, but have you solved the problem? Maybe not.
Look, man, I failed more times than I can count learning how to do this work. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that if it's for a purpose and it was done in the right spirit. Sometimes it wasn't. Majority of the time it was. I told all my development officers, I will back you and I will take the blame for anything that doesn't go right if we do it in the right spirit and it was part of our plan. Now, where you're going to get me is if you didn't learn from it, right? If we as a team didn't learn. So that that mantra of failing forward is huge for us at 33. I will answer a question for your viewers. We do not have 33 unique strategies.
I was about to say, where's the name from?
It's my lucky number.
33.
Yeah. So there's a lot to that number for me, and there's just a lot of things that have always been drawn to that number, but I needed something to put on the Secretary of State's Go Biz site when I started it, and I didn't want it to be Ethan Bush Consulting. So I'm like, what would be cool? I've always wanted to use 33. Okay, 33 strategies. What I didn't know is everybody expects me to deliver 33 unique strategies. I'm like, no.
And I noticed on your website that was the header. We do not have 30, like disclaimer.
Yeah, that's our tagline.
It's like you got to check the yes box. Like, do you
That's
agree that we're not going to give you 33 strategies? Like, it was weird. Website navigation tool.
So, I put that down, and then a couple of years later, my wife took me to Spain, and it was a wonderful trip. And we're at that big basilica in Barcelona, and we're walking around, and I see this sort of grid. It looks like a tic-tac-toe grid, right? I'm staring at all the numbers, and they're all in a different pattern, but every direction adds up to 33. Every way you look at this grid of numbers, it adds up. I said, click. I was like, I'm going to use that somehow, and I don't know how. And I think what we have, and we have a sort of a design of it where it moves around on our site. But I was like, there's no unique pattern to get there, right? Every client is different. Every need is different. We're all trying to go to the same place. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of become part of our sort of design that everything is unique. We'd rather give it away first to get you to a place where we can be the most beneficial to you when you engage with us. And every client is going to be different. And we know that, and we're good with that. We are not a firm that's got 20 employees and we're going to go churn and burn and they're great at what they do. That's just not what we want to do.
Yeah.
We would like to go a little bit deeper. That limits us on some levels, right? But through the power of partnership with some of these other advisors that we have collaborated with, we'll collaborate on their projects, they'll collaborate on ours, and we're able to do more in some of this deeper work. And so there's no 33 unique strategies. It's to each organization. It's my lucky number. I'm glad I got to use it. And we just kind of figure it out. So
imagine taxiing on a plane looking toward the end of the runway. It seems so far away. It's even hard to see it. And that's what the concept of retirement probably felt like when you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, way far in the distance, not visible or even a concern. But as you turn 50, something happens. Retirement suddenly seems like something real, something not too far away. In your 50s, you are rolling down the runway. Retirement is getting closer and closer, faster and faster, weeks and months zipping by. But are you even ready for a successful takeoff to retirement? Fear not, there's still runway left. But the time is now. Time to make progress and time to get a plan. The Runway Decade will help you get organized, get energized, and give you the direction you need to take off to your desired retirement. The Runway Decade, building a pre-retirement flight plan in your 50s.
It's 4 years. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't change it. I always said I could go get a job. Mm-hmm. If it failed, it hadn't failed yet. The longer I'm doing this, the less I want to go work for somebody and work for an organization. I've enjoyed bringing on a partner and having that collaborative growth and having him jump in with me, with the same mindset and different skill sets where we can balance each other. And that's, for the first 3 years, I didn't even have a website. I didn't have anything. I didn't need it.
I was about to say, it was all just
it's organic, and that was a beautiful thing too, right? It's the best kind of marketing you can get. Plus, I didn't know that I wanted to do some of this or tell the story or to be out there, right? And that's more about my stuff.
Yeah.
But Alex really helped bring some of that out of me, and I got comfortable into a place where it's like, no, we can go talk about our mindset. Like I was doing it with clients. Mm-hmm. But, starting to get out there and go, okay, collectively we've got 30 years of experience. Yeah, we've raised in our careers over $100 million. Like, all that's fine. I don't get caught up in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of it, but it is not what we want to do.
Yeah.
You know, we want them to raise more money, but we want them to do it in the right way and also be a place that's going to be there.
Right. Because if you just stick with a fundraising mentality of we're going to survive by fundraising, you're never going to
keep this event every year. We're going to do
right. And it's you're constantly either planning events or you're constantly making phone calls. When if you get to that sustainability level, you can then really focus on how can we deliver our product or service that we were meant to do from the get-go.
When it might give you the chance to grow, right? There are plenty of nonprofits who are board driven. They don't even have staff thinking about it every day. You know, a lot of people don't realize the owners of these organizations are the board of directors, right? It's not a staff member. The board has responsibility. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, when they take a spot on a board, don't realize that. You know, they have responsibility for that organization to be sustainable. So if there's no staff, we work with the board. And we try to figure that out because they are the day-to-day owners of that organization. We certainly want to see them get to a place where they can get somebody paid and thinking about it, but it runs all walks of life.
Yeah.
All levels of employees or non-employees. So it has been a fun ride. It's been really, really cool to dig into some of that entrepreneur energy that I saw with my dad and my grandfather, you know, to come full circle and still be in the relationship space, but doing it in just a different way.
Yeah, you're still almost doing their mission, just with a different method.
Trying to.
You know, your grandfather was, let me monetarily help him. Does that fit? And your dad was, let me help him with services.
That's right.
And you are kind of probably a combination thereof. Let me help them better themselves, right? So,
right.
You know, to your point about have you actually solved the root of the problem, your approach is just that. How do we solve the problem of this organization being self-sufficient and being able to sustain their model for years to come without having to focus on that one donor that gives a big check every year, and that's what makes our budget. That's how we keep it together. That one donor, we got to do everything we can to please that person, whereas they can say, look, if that donor drops off, that's fine because we have a process to pick up another one, and we've got everything else already laid out. Our lights are paid for, our overhead's paid for. Now we're just focusing on our
That's
craft.
Right. And you see it with some of your clients, I'm sure, right? They try to figure that out. You know, the thing that I'll say about that is my goal is what would break my heart in all of this truly would be if we left and they couldn't hold on to some of the skills and the resources that we were able to put in place. We don't work on an hourly rate. We work on a retainer model extended over a longer period of time by design, you know, and they'll go, well, we need to get this done in 90 days. It won't stick. We're training your employees. We're working with your board. We're engaging your staff. We are creating alignment. Mm-hmm. Vision's not the hard part. No offense to anybody that thinks that. Vision comes together with smart people who have worked in an organization pretty quickly. It falls apart with alignment and execution and implementation.
Yeah.
And so we really want to be there to see these things stick. And so that's what we tell somebody too. We want to make sure you survive the next 90 days, but you don't need to bring us in. Let's get you what you need. Right? I will help you. Alex will help you. Our partners will help you. Let's get you just stable, and then we can start working on some of those things because we will typically go in and, you know, no less than 6 months. Typically, we're in a 9 to 12 month retainer-based model that lets us try to get these things to stick.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Which I think in that amount of time, you can at least get something in place to stick. Or you can make enough progress to where they say, "Hey, we're on to something. Let's ante up again."
Or we're making a difficult decision that we have explored every avenue, and now we have to work with the board on, is this feasible and sustainable? And that is a path too, unfortunately, you know. But I do think if we can get into the power of collaboration and coalitions and alliances of nonprofits, we'll be in a better space when they can start operating out of fear and protection and going, wow, we don't have to try to do everything for everybody because they do this, we do this, boom, boom, boom. So we're hoping that we can continue to work that model and philosophy and mindset. And again, we are an open book. We'll talk to anybody. We are not pushing to have, again, a ton of clients. We want to help where we can. But we have to make sense for that organization and board.
Yeah.
Because some of them don't like it. And I understand it. I'm not mad at them.
Yeah, they don't like the change, or they don't like you coming in and telling them, hey, you've kind of done things a little wrong.
Well, that, or are you tired of continuing to do the same things? It's that, are you driving yourself, insane on this, right? Like, we're going to challenge. We're going to be curious, but we're going to really, really challenge. And when they say they can't generate their own money, we're going to say, but why? And they're going to say something else, and we're going to say, but why? And we're going to beat that up until we find out there is no way to generate your own money, right? Your own revenue. And we might get to a place on that, but so far I haven't had a client that can't figure out how to generate something.
Yeah.
Right. And now you got to put that into action because it makes sense.
And it's just,
but it's deeper work.
It's deeper work, and it's altering that initial mindset of nonprofit. Yeah. Where the nonprofit space has always been so donor driven, so fundraiser driven. So we've got to get all these external funds.
Sure.
And we can't make a profit, that we don't have any revenue. There's a mindset that has to shift before those gates can even open to them saying, well, man, wait a minute. No, we can. We can go down that path, because ultimately it's supporting our goal and our actual mission.
That's right.
We're not out here making a single product to sell for a profit that we're then going to put in our pockets. Mm-hmm. It's giving us the ability to keep moving forward with our goals and objectives, expanding, and then servicing more people in the community.
That's right.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where y'all go, man.
We are. Look, it's something new every year, right? Something new every day. I love it. I don't think I've gotten up and said this is hard or not wanting to go in, and my wife has a wonderful office at our house when she's not traveling for work. I need to be out of the house. It's not because of, I needed the separation, so I'm like, man, let's just find some functional space. We're always in organization, but we have a great little functional space where we collaborate, and we let all of our partners come in, and y'all need an office out of your house, come on in. That's just our philosophy, is that we will be better understanding who else is. If we're telling nonprofits and donors to do this, then all the people in our space better be doing it. Mm-hmm. And so we are also, and others are doing the same thing, but we're trying to better understand some of the other folks in this space that we don't have a relationship with, so we know where to send people. And we know that they don't want to work on this. We want to work on this. Why aren't we doing the same thing in certain businesses, right? I understand competition. I don't want to be in a competitive space. My goal is not to compete with anybody else helping nonprofits. My goal is to collaborate. Like I told you, I'm not competing against the Baton Rouge Area Foundation or this group or others. They are my friends and partners. We do projects with them, right? We fit on some, we don't fit on others. We have projects where we are the sub on a project because we bring this piece. And so we're trying to also keep that open in our professional space, truly, because I don't want to be in a competitive space. And that's probably very against being a business owner or an entrepreneur, but that's just not where I am in life.
But it's a different mindset because of what you do.
I think
it's a different line of work. You're not out here making a trinket and you're trying to turn a profit. It's a space where collaboration and working together has to happen because you're working towards the greater good of a society or of a community. And
that's right.
You have a shared end goal.
The first year was all about paying the bills. I'll work with anybody who wants to work with me, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And then it started to get refined, and we started to really figure out what we want to do. And now we know what our mindset is and what we want to do. And yes, are we taking care of our families? Yeah, it's great. But we kind of also have defined what's enough. Mm-hmm. And we're okay in that space. We're going to continue to grow. I believe it. I just believe it in my heart of heart, but we're going to grow collaboratively and not at the expense of somebody in the professional space or any of our partners. That's just where we are.
And in the professional space that you're servicing individual clients, if you start taking on more than you can handle, something's going to fall.
Yeah.
Whether it is your
sure.
whether it's your family life, whether it's the service to existing clients or the new clients, or it's the health and well-being of your employees and
Sure.
your team members. One of those three is going to fall and not get the attention it deserves. So that controlled growth for whatever organization you're in
Yeah.
has to happen. It's so tough physically and mentally on people when they have a hockey stick level of growth, because
Certainly.
it's almost either A, unsustainable, or B, just impossible to really keep going at that rate.
Yeah. I mean, you burn out, right?
Yeah.
And if you're pouring energy into a job, I would say this for anybody, if you're pouring energy into a job where you're not gaining energy, you have to do things that drain your energy, right? I get
Right.
it. But if you're being drained every day, do something different, from the standpoint of, or where can you offset that even in your company to do the things you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I didn't think that I wanted to be back talking about me, my partner, the business, but I truly do have energy telling people about where we're going and what we're trying to do now that we have gotten to a place that I feel comfortable with it. For a couple of years, I kind of wanted to disappear. That was about me.
Yeah.
Right. I was helping people. But that also get energy now from talking about how I feel about this. Not everybody has to agree with me.
No.
Totally fine. I'll still help you, or I'll find somebody to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do agree, we're going to go deeper and we're going to go in a little bit longer term with you to see if these things can stick.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that more nonprofits will become sustainable business minded organizations that produce larger missions.
Yeah. Just one day at a time.
And look, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I still don't. I'm okay with that. I told somebody recently, said, I'm going to have this business for as long as it'll have me. I don't have a founder syndrome. I don't have a protection. This is not for me, right? It's not mine. I might have been the person to start it with a thought, but I want to see it go on. I was like, I got other things that I want to do one day. One of them is I want to open a full service gas station again. I think it works. People tell me I'm crazy. Some people tell me I got an idea. I'm like, that's just more, I know it, and it would be so cool.
It would be.
Yeah. Finding these service things in a technological world, these old service points and helping others, and all that. I'm like, I could run a gas station again one day. Maybe I don't run it. Maybe I just help with it. So that's a dream of mine. We got some others, but I think we should all be doing that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to continue to do this as long as I can. But I hope that whether it's this company or another, I hope this thought process and this vision that we have around sort of community engagement and collaboration with all of those legs of the stool that we talked about earlier, I really hope that sticks, and continues to grow, because I think that's going to be super important.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
Yeah. It's got to be created for a legacy mindset and not a current mindset.
That's right. And I don't want it to be my legacy. Right. I truly do. When you say legacy, some people think about, that wasn't my idea. The reason we did so well at Mary Bird is I had super talented individuals, and I was able to help them along the way, but they were super talented and passionate about what they do. It wasn't about me. I think the ego got to me at times. I can get on stage and raise money and talk to 1,000 people. Then it burns you, and then you kind of can dig back in this chapter of my life and go, okay, I saw that. I don't want that again. Right. I just want to help as many people that want to partner with us as a client or a collaborator or whatever. I just kind of want to help in that space if we make sense. I think we'll continue to evolve as a business too. I think we will add probably a product or two down the road. I think we have some dreams about how to get that message out of more one-to-one work with clients. So we're thinking and dreaming, right? And we'll see where that goes.
I love it.
So we recognize that we can't do everything that we want to do in one-to-one long-term meetings. There's only so much of us and so many partners, right? But we do think that there are ways to get that information out to the masses, and also some products and services that are going to be at a price point that some can afford, where we can engage or bring some others in to help, with those in other markets and other places where it doesn't require us to be there. So we're dreaming, but we're going to keep doing this because we feel like it's working, and we got a good cadence right now with our clients and kind of where we're going. So it's been a fun ride.
Good deal, man.
Yeah.
Well, before we get you out here, we have a set list of questions we ask everybody. What is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Something I did as a kid that I wish I could still do today. Swim 4 lengths of the pool underwater.
4?
I mean, it was a backyard pool. It wasn't
okay.
It wasn't like Kenilworth or Tara.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm
not
like,
Olympic
my gosh,
size,
man.
But I could go down and back in a normal pool 4 times. I wish I could do that again.
Okay, so probably 50 meters.
Probably about 50 meters
That's
underwater.
Fair. That's still impressive, though.
Yeah, I might be able to get from the deep end to the short end of that.
Yeah, you lose that lung capacity over time.
That's right.
That's a good one. I haven't had anybody.
It brings me back to a time that I wasn't, fearless, and you can do all that.
You were willing to.
I was also doing backflips off a diving board. Who has a diving board anymore? Right.
That's true. That's true. I've seen pools get taken.
Well, they get them. Yeah, you can't build a new one with one.
I didn't know that.
I think it's an insurance thing.
Well, insurance brokers.
What do they do?
I don't know. So what are 3 lessons you've learned along the way?
You never know what an individual is going through. So give them the time and ask the next question. That's the biggest one for me today, and it was sort of what was taught to me by my grandfather and my dad and others, is like, just ask the next question. You're going to find out a lot.
Yeah. So
ask the next question. Don't believe your own hype. It doesn't bring you into good spots. And then I think the last one, which has been my therapist and I, which that's a whole nother discussion. I love my work on that. I'm a big mental health advocate.
Yeah.
Your mind is just your mind. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe the crazy things that are going on or the thoughts that you have in your mind. Your mind is just your mind.
That's good.
I used to have that hang in my office, and people would come in and look at me like, what? I was like, your mind's just your mind.
What does it even mean?
I said, ask me one day, because I think it is a toxic place to believe our own thoughts about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So your mind is just your mind. Ask the next question. Don't get caught up in your own hype. It does not serve you well.
I love those.
Just the thing, and those are still things that I struggle with on some. It's not like I'm perfect at it.
Yeah.
I believe my brain plenty of times when I shouldn't. Right? I mean, it's just.
I mean, that's the part of being human.
It's all we all that way.
You've got to work to be a little bit better each day. It's not something where you're going to reach a certain point and say, "All right, I can't grow anymore." You're never going to get that.
That's it.
So, what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
I think for me, and I love this campaign we have going about Better Baton Rouge and all that. I think we all spend so much time talking about the disappointments or the letdown when we don't really celebrate why people all want to come back here on a Saturday. The people that are here that believe in a city with diverse backgrounds and diverse cultures and are committed. I think those people genuinely love and want to help each other. And the people embraced me here, which is what I love about it. Remember, somebody asked me where I went to school. I thought they were talking about college, not a high school. right? I'm like, what? I didn't go to higher ed here. I didn't have those experiences from, the ground up, but I was brought in, I was embraced. I was able to start my family here. My son is only known being here. My daughter is only known being here, right? My wife is from here. She grew up here and went to school here. And I was embraced by the organizations that I worked with, the donors that I worked with. They gave me opportunity to be connected, to introduce me. And it is a city that has given me a lot. And so I get our struggles, but if we focus on that, we can't not focus on it. We have to be smart.
Right.
But I think we can change our day-to-day outlook. And it's just the people that made this my home. And I love it.
Yeah.
I'm struggle with some things about it, like we all do, right? We all have frustrations. I'm so tired of traffic. There's bigger issues that we all have to be aware of. I'm trying to do my part in that where I stand. I can't solve everything, but I can try to help where I stand. But yeah, the best thing about Baton Rouge has been the people that took me in and have given me a wonderful life. And, I see it with so many others. I just hope more people can have that experience and don't focus on the negative.
Yeah. If you keep focused on that negative, you'll start to listen to your mind a lot more.
And your mind is just your mind.
That's right. So, what is something I can do to help you?
That's an awesome question. And I was thinking about that, as you, I think the best thing, not only can you help say the organizations and the people that you come across doing good work, they may not know what they need, but the best thing you can do is tell them to have a conversation with me. This is not them spending money. This is not ask the next question. Back to my point of what is their struggle? What's the root of it? And go, I don't know what you need, but I know you need to call Ethan or Alex. We might not be right, but we're going to get them something that they need, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the best thing you can do is just be aware of those organizations and individuals that are, through no fault of their own, struggling, but let's all be a connector of resources, right? You have a platform. You also in your professional life work with a lot of these organizations. I think it would be helpful, ask me the next question like you're doing to better understand what we do and what we want to do. And then ask that of those individuals that may just be on a plateau or not sure what they need. And I'd love to just have a conversation with them to see what they need and help them.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an area that you certainly could help us. And we didn't do a good job of that the first few years because we were kind of quiet in the shadows, and that was okay. We did it when we were supposed to do it.
That's right.
And so, we actually have a website that functions. You can actually get in touch with us. We're learning social media. I'm really bad at it. Alex is good at it, but, for a long time, I didn't do anything on there. I want to do more of that. I want to connect with people who have the same mindset. And how do we figure out from a business community standpoint how we can be more engaged on some of that impact work, right? Doesn't mean you have to write the check, but you're pretty smart. I know what you do. There's ways you can help. You're already doing it, but how can you help a collaboration or a group? And, I want to connect people to that work. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a two-way street of asking the right question. And if anybody needs us, we're there.
Yeah, that's easy, man. That's asking that next question and just thinking about, and that's what I mean,
you got $1 million? Is that is that a request?
Oh, that's
okay. Next time.
Yeah. Next time. That's, you were the second person that came in. The first person just got it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So
perfect. Well, I hope they put it to good work.
But no, it's true. I'm always thinking the same mentality. How can I help this person, whether it's through me or pairing them up with somebody else? Because I don't have all the answers.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
And I'm not an expert in really many things. I don't claim to be. I don't claim to be the smartest fundraiser or the latest and greatest. I claim to be pretty good at relationship management, and I claim to be pretty good at working with people who have helped me in my career and also in this career better understand that entrepreneurial mindset and that it doesn't matter the type of business that you work in.
Yeah.
Right? And the best way that we can do that is through collaboration. Like if I can have my friends who work in the space have projects, whether I'm on them or not, because they fit with the client or the need, I'm all about it.
Love it, man.
I'm all about it. So that's where I want to build my community. People that are, getting connected with you, doing this, right? Like I want to build that out. I think, I have a decent one. We have decent ones, but the more that we can expand that and know that we're out here and we want to help people, and we'll talk to any of them.
Yeah, that's key. Talking to anybody and everybody.
There's no schedule. Yeah, you got a schedule, but there's no like consult this and that. For us, that's not our model.
Mm-hmm.
Our model is let's find out where you are and let us be curious. Let us see if y'all are even in a place. And if you're not, cool, this is what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or consider this. You want me to come in and talk to your board? I will come in and have those hard questions, whether they are a client or not. I don't have the time for it anymore. Not in a bad way. It's just, I'm not going to spend my time spinning my wheels on some of that stuff. We're either going to figure it out and do some things differently, or let's just get you stable and keep doing what you're doing for as long as you can.
Yeah.
I don't think the outcome is going to be what you want long-term, but you still do some good work along the way. I think we forget that. Not everybody can go make wholesale changes, and that's not what I'm sitting here sort of saying. Some people need to keep doing what they're doing, but at some point, they're tired, and your donors are tired. I've been running this organization for 20 years. I'm tired. You hear it all the time, and I hate that for them. I've been there. I get it. So let's figure out how to make this thing work more efficiently.
Absolutely.
So that's a little about mindset about 33 and what we do.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This is such a cool space.
Yeah.
Really cool. Get you comfortable. Have a beer.
That's it,
Is
man. It's relaxing, It's conversation.
I love it.
Nothing too hectic and crazy. So
Not at all.
thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And I thank everybody else for listening and watching, whatever platform you're on. We're going to link Ethan and his business in the bio of the show notes, and they may not be able to give you 33 strategies, but they can help you find a solution for whatever it is you got going on. So thank y'all so much. We'll see y'all next week.